And a good Tuesday morning, Birds fans. Happy New Year to our Birds 365 fam. First chance we've had to say welcome to 2023 here on Birds 365. You got your Mac and Mac guys, Jody McDonald, John McMullen. Hopefully your New Year's was a good one. New Year's Day was not great, and that's what we will be talking about the majority of the time here on Birds 365 today. But for those who get to bed early and get up early and check in on Birds 365, you would have to go to bed pretty early last night to know not know what transpired in the National Football League in the game between the Bengals and the Bills last night, late first quarter. Damar Hamlin, safety for the Bills, tackled T. Higgins on a 10, 12-yard pass play. Good, solid hit to bring Higgins down. Not a bone-crushing hit. He came up after making the tackle and fell back down to the ground. Medical personnel were rushed onto the field. He needed to be resuscitated on the field and had work done on him. They went to the ambulance to get him off the field, and it was just a chilling couple of minutes on the field in Cincinnati. As a matter of fact, I was not watching at the time. I was watching the Sixers, and through the miracle of social media, you get a text, you get a tweet. Have you ever seen anything like that on the field? I turned over and saw what transpired thereafter, but it was a very just eye-opening and heart-wrenching minute to watch what transpired in Cincinnati last night. Johnny Mac, were you tuned at the time? How did you find out about it? How did you get the news that we had a tragedy unfolding in Cincinnati?
Same way as you, Jody. Social media world. I think I was watching Raw at the time. I was flipping back and forth. Monday Night Raw. I was flipping back and forth between that and the game, and I was on the different station, and I saw, and I quickly pulled back to the game and didn't see the hit live.
Or did
I
I?
replayed it a number of times. Yeah, it didn't look like an out of the ordinary hit. I mean, you'll see that hit hundreds of times when they do resume the season. And then all of a sudden, yeah, just a scary moment. Comes up to his feet, seemed fine, all of a sudden just collapsed. Um, yeah, terrible. It was interesting. The first thing I thought of, maybe because I was watching, and you're a wrestling guy. Now, Jerry Lawler was, a much older man. He was an announcer. He had a heart attack live on Raw, cardiac event for people who don't know. I said the one silver lining to it is if, there were medical people there immediately that saved his life. And Jerry talks about it to this day. That's the silver lining here. There were medical people right on the field, CPR, resuscitation. And right now, Damar's in critical condition. Hopefully he pulls through this. But, that's the silver lining. The help was there immediately. But it was just such a terrible situation. And then you saw the good and the bad of social media, because you have all this, terrible, just gauging the announcers and are they doing the proper job and the immediacy. And I'm like, worry about the kid. Worry about the
Right.
kid. And it's such a difficult situation. Nobody's expecting to deal with that in that type of situation. That's part of the bad. You had people jumping to conclusions with no information. The narrative that the league wanted to start the game in 5 minutes. I don't know. That to me, Jody, is what's wrong with social media. Everybody's afraid to say I don't know. I know Troy Benson denied it on a conference call later that night. I was talking to sort of a logistics guy who handles a bunch of stuff for the NFL. I was texting him. He was explaining the situation. Think about it this way, Jody. If you cancel the game immediately, and by immediately I say 10 or 15 minutes, you got 70,000 people headed to their cars. They're not thinking. You got to get ambulances out. You got to get people out. You got to get family out. You got to get officials out. There's logistics to this type of thing. So that story's got to be fleshed out a little bit. Like I don't think Troy is lying because that would be a weird thing to lie about. So who came up with that 5-minute narrative? Is that bad reporting? Is that the official making a bad summation? I don't know. But that to me is the biggest thing. Everybody's afraid to say, I don't know. Just care about the kid and having this horrible situation. And as far as what caused it, was it the hit? Was it some underlying condition that went unnoticed for years? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't be illegal to say, I don't know. I don't have that information. Hopefully, we'll get that information. The good news is they were able to resuscitate him. Hopefully, things go in a positive direction. But nobody knows right now.
And the thing that bothered me, and yours truly was on the air, I was supposed to be on after Monday Night Football on WIP last night, so I got on earlier than I was planning on or was supposed to because of the suspension of the game. So I got to get some fan reaction last night. And I took a call from a guy who absolutely said, this is one of the problems in our country, that game should have been played, that the NFL should have come to an immediate decision that it should have been played. And immediately thereafter, I took more calls, and the people were just livid about the foolish stance that the guy took. It's a testament to our country and the shape that our country is in, meaning our country has somehow now gone soft. So, yeah, the immediate reaction is not always good. And here's what I thought about the way it was handled by the NFL. They got it right, okay? At the end of the day, when you look back at it, they handled the way the correct decision and how to handle it was made. If it took 10 or 12 more minutes than you thought, if it was, and I did see a tweet from a reliable source saying last night that it was the players union that had gotten to the individual players in the locker room and said, we can't go back out there. You're not going back out there. We'll stand by you. That the players were the ones who made the decision more so than the coaches. And we know that they were communicating with each other on the field, outside the locker room. You saw it on the broadcast that Zach Taylor and Sean McDermott was certainly talking, whether the call came on high from the commissioner's office. However it was determined, they got it right. That's the most important thing. Don't worry about the timing. Don't even worry about who made the decision. The correct decision was made. They had to wait until they found out what kind of shape this young man was in. There's no way to send those players out there with the loss of focus that they would have had. You're just asking for more injuries. Bottom line is, get to the end. Did they get it right? Yes, I thought so. Now they've got a big issue to deal with now. How do you restart that game? How do you incorporate that game? It does really need to be played. If not, then how do you figure out the standings thereafter? So the NFL still got work in front of them. But at the end of the day, when they officially said the game was suspended, they got it right as far as I'm concerned, and that way outweighs everything else.
Yeah, they did get it right, and it is a combination of the players union and the league, and it wouldn't be I'm not going to sit here and pretend. I say all the time the NFL doesn't care about safety all that much. They care about only the concussion issue for the most part because of potential future litigation. I talk all, they're scary, and we just went through one at Lincoln Financial Field with Josh Sweat. The day before, stretchered off, and you know, there was I've never seen that place so quiet. There was such a hush when he was leaving the field because everybody was concerned about Josh Sweat. If you go back to C.J. Gardner-Johnson with the lacerated kidney, he said, "Oh, that was a hit." You know, that was a little bit of a stiff hit, certainly. But I thought when he came off the field, immediate thing by his reaction, I thought, oh, CJ got a stinger. You never know when these hits are going to create these situations. Now, this, you got to go, and I looked it up. It has happened before, but you got to go back to the early 70s. Member of the Lions suffered a heart attack. And it was a different time, and they did continue and play the game. And that's good that we've evolved to the point that You know, most people care more about the kid than the game, and there's certain people that are always going to be, like you mentioned with your caller, Jody, are going to go down a different route. But yeah, I mean that's the problem with social media in general, right? We go that the loudest voices are the most extreme voices, and they use any situation. Doesn't have to be football, doesn't have to be this situation, to fit their particular narrative, whatever that narrative is. And the concern here should be the player, and where he is health wise. And again, not an indictable offense to say I don't know at 2 minutes after something happens. Not an indictable offense. And more people should take that advice. They really should.
And the only update we can give you this morning is, and it's the same as it was late last night, but again, if you went to bed early, he did suffer cardiac arrest on the field. He was resuscitated. They got him quickly to the hospital. His vitals were stable. And again, last night on WIP, had an ER doctor call me, John, and he filled in some blanks for me. And I thanked him greatly because he did educate us that was a key element of good news last night, that they got his vitals stable. They put him to sleep so that he could rest and continue to heal. He was intubated, but that's not unusual that you get assist breathing with a cardiac arrest. So he was trending in the right direction. He is still in critical condition. There's no new news as of this morning. The majority of the Buffalo Bills left Cincinnati last night. Several of his teammates did stay to be with him in the hospital, but the NFL has made no statement, and I don't know that there's going to be an immediate statement even today as to how that game will be picked up and or played at a future date. And they're running out of dates in the National Football League because the season is coming to an end. And the Philadelphia Eagles were in the same place they were 2 weeks ago. Only need to win one more game to lock up first place in the NFC East and the number one seed overall in the NFC. They still don't have that after two straight losses. And you mentioned the Josh Sweat hit. It's just unfortunate that they couldn't suspend the Eagles game against the Saints on Sunday because they could have dodged a bullet after their loss to New Orleans, in which again the offense just didn't flat out show up. Gardner Minshew, play calling, A.J. Brown not running all the way through a route. There's a lot to be discussed about the Eagles just in general, but off Sunday's performance, more specifically about the offense. John and I are going to do that with you. We're going to get a little bit of help. Tommy Lawler from EaglesBlitz.com is going to jump in with us. Tommy's been covering the team for years. He goes back to the team that had set the record for most sacks in a season for the Philadelphia Eagles. That would now be your 2022 Philadelphia Eagles with only 7 more this past week. Can't blame pressure from the defensive line for the loss to the Saints. We'll talk Eagles with Tommy Lawler next. And then in hour number 2, our usual Monday guy, Tuesday this week, because we were off yesterday for the holiday, Chris Franklin's going to jump aboard. So we've got able-bodied assistants to join McMullen and McDonald. We appreciate you tuning in with Mac and Mac here on Birds 360.